It began as an ordinary Saturday night in Philadelphia. On October 4th, 2025, 23-year-old Kada Scott clocked out from her job at the Terrace at Chestnut Hill, an assisted living facility where she was known for her bright personality and calm presence. She worked her shift, smiled at coworkers, and left for the evening, just as she always did. But this time, she never made it home. By Sunday morning, Kada's family already felt something was wrong. Her mother, Tony Scott, said it wasn't like her daughter to go silent. Kada's phone was off, her social media inactive, and her car, a silver Nissan, still parked outside her workplace. Within hours, police were notified. The report was clear: a missing person, last seen leaving work the previous night. Detectives began canvassing the area. They confirmed her last known movements. The end of her shift, a brief phone call with a friend, and then nothing. No calls, no pings, no trace. It was as though she had simply vanished into the night. Kada's family gathered at her home on Philadelphia's northwest side, holding onto their phones, waiting for a message that never came. She had always been close to them, especially her mother. Tony told reporters that Kada had recently confided she was receiving harassing messages from someone. Those messages were part of what made her disappearance even more alarming. When detectives arrived, they noted the phone line was disconnected and the car untouched. According to police statements, this was not consistent with someone leaving voluntarily. That week, the search widened. Local officers and cadet classes from the police academy combed through the Albury Arboretum, a heavily wooded stretch of land not far from her workplace. It was an exhausting effort, acres of dense trees, fences, and uneven ground. Investigators said they found clothing items, though it remained unclear whether they were connected to Kada's case. Detectives emphasized they were pursuing every lead, calling it a troubling missing person report with possible signs of foul play. Days passed. No calls, no confirmed sightings, only silence. On October 15, 2025, police announced a major development. An arrest had been made. The suspect was 21-year-old Keon King, a man investigators believe was the last person to have contact with Kada before she disappeared. Police said digital and video evidence placed him near Kada shortly after she left work on October 4th. At a press briefing, officials confirmed King was charged with kidnapping, recklessly endangering another person, and use of a communication facility. Charges supported by data from his phone and records of his contact with Kada. Authorities emphasized one fact repeatedly: we still do not know where Miss Scott is. Our number one priority is locating her. Police also revealed that King's gold 1999 Toyota Camry, identified as his vehicle, was still missing. It had heavy front-end damage on the driver's side. Detectives urged the public to look out for the car, noting sightings in Mount Airy, Center City, and southwest Philadelphia. Anyone with information was asked to contact police immediately. As reporters dug deeper into court records, a disturbing pattern emerged. Earlier in 2025, King had been charged in a separate case, accused of kidnapping and assaulting another woman he knew personally. That case was withdrawn after the victim failed to appear in court. Now, prosecutors were refiling those same charges, citing the need to protect public safety and establish a clear pattern of violent behavior. Police confirmed that the FBI Violent Crimes Task Force had joined the investigation. Detectives continued analyzing digital evidence, including location data, surveillance video, and phone communications between King and Kada. Officials said they had received help from the public, numerous tips that helped trace King's movements and led to a surrender. Still, there was no sign of Kada. There's a lot of work still to be done, police stated. We're not stopping until we find her. In the days after King's arrest, detectives received a tip about evidence near Ada H. Lewis Middle School, close to the area where searches had already been conducted. According to NBC 10 Philadelphia, officers responded and located the gold Toyota Camry linked to King. It was parked near the school, only a short distance from the Albury Arboretum, where earlier searches had been focused. Police processed the vehicle and collected potential evidence. However, despite that discovery, Kada remained missing. Officials confirmed that no body had been found, and the investigation remained classified as a missing person case, not a homicide. Authorities reiterated that King's charges currently relate only to kidnapping and associated offenses. The district attorney's office clarified that additional charges would depend entirely on what future evidence reveals. For Kada's family, the discovery of the car brought both hope and heartbreak, a sign that investigators were closing in, but no relief without answers. As of mid-October 2025, the disappearance of Kada Scott remains one of the most urgent missing person investigations in Philadelphia. Her silver Nissan was left behind outside her job. Her phone and social media went silent that night. Her belongings were found near a school just blocks from the Aubrey Arboretum. And the man last seen with her, 21-year-old Keon King, now sits in custody, facing kidnapping charges. Yet Kada is still missing. The Philadelphia Police Department and the FBI Violent Crimes Task Force continue to investigate, analyzing phone data, re-interviewing witnesses, and following every credible tip. Officials say their number one priority is still locating Kada. Her mother, Tony Scott, remains steadfast in hope. Through a verified GoFundMe reward fund, she continues to encourage the public to come forward with information. The funds, she explained, will be used strictly to help find Kada, or, if no longer necessary, donated to assist other missing person cases. Each night, candles flicker across Philadelphia's northwest neighborhoods, reminders of the 23-year-old woman whose life has been interrupted without explanation. The case has sparked conversation citywide about violence against women, about unreported threats, about the time it takes to find the truth. But amid the uncertainty, one thing is certain. Kada's name will not be forgotten. If you have any information about Kada Scott's disappearance, contact the Philadelphia Police Department at 215-686, TIPS 8477. In the quiet corners of northwest Philadelphia, autumn has begun to turn. The air is colder, thinner, the kind that carries every sound a little farther. For those who know her story, the change in weather brings something heavier than the chill. It brings the echo of one name, Kada Scott. It has been days since the 23-year-old nursing assistant was last seen walking out of her job at the terrace at Chestnut Hill. She never made it home. Her silver Nissan remains parked where she left it, frozen in time, a monument to that last known moment. Her phone has stayed silent since that night. The disappearance of Kada Scott has shaken a city already too familiar with missing person posters. But this one feels different. Maybe because of her age, young but old enough to build a life of service. Maybe because of the timing, the abruptness, the sense that she simply vanished between 1 minute and the next. Or maybe because, despite the weight of the facts, her family refuses to let her fade into another statistic. At the center of the case stands her mother, Tony Scott, who has become the public face of the search. Every interview, every press appearance, every plea is marked by the same refrain. We just want her home. In video after video, Tony's voice trembles, but never breaks. She talked about her daughter's smile, about her long shifts caring for elderly patients, about the way she always checked in with family before every shift. Tony started a verified GoFundMe campaign to support the search, offering a $10,000 reward for information that could bring her daughter back. The donations came in from strangers across the country. Small amounts, mostly, but they carried something bigger than money. They carried attention, because awareness is the oxygen that keeps a case like this alive. Meanwhile, the investigation has stayed relentless. Detectives from the Philadelphia Police Department, working alongside the FBI Violent Crimes Task Force, have retraced every step from Kada's last known shift. Her belongings, including a debit card and phone case, were recovered near Ada H. Lewis Middle School, a short distance from the wooded stretches of Aubrey Arboretum. Search teams combed through the dense terrain, including cadets from the Philadelphia Police Academy. They found clothing items, though police have never publicly confirmed whether they belonged to Kada. The results of forensic testing remain undisclosed, as the investigation continues under what officials call active status. The gold 1999 Toyota Camry linked to 21-year-old Keon King was impounded as potential evidence. King, who was allegedly the last person in contact with Kada, has been charged with kidnapping, reckless endangerment, and use of a communication facility. His bail sits at $2.5 million. Prosecutors emphasize that the charges remain limited to kidnapping. No homicide counts have been filed, and the presumption of innocence remains. King's prior encounters with law enforcement have only deepened public interest. Earlier in 2025, he was charged in a separate kidnapping and assault case involving another woman, but that case was dropped when the victim did not appear in court. After Kada's disappearance, those earlier charges were refiled. Detectives have urged anyone who may have interacted with King to contact investigators, stating that even small pieces of information could prove vital. Every statement from law enforcement ends the same way. Our top priority is locating Kada Scott. As the investigation moves forward, the community's response has evolved into something more than a search. It has become a movement, a collective refusal to accept silence. In neighborhoods from Chestnut Hill to Germantown, people have tied purple ribbons to fences and light poles. Flyers with Kada's face, the wide smile, the clear brown eyes, flutter on cafe doors and bus stops. Local churches have organized prayer walks, and advocacy groups for missing women have folded her name into a larger call for systemic change. The case has also revived conversations about safety for women working late hours, and about how quickly missing person cases involving young black women can lose traction without persistent public pressure. For many, keeping Kada's name alive isn't only about finding her. It's about demanding equal urgency for every missing daughter, sister, or friend. And that urgency is palpable. The public watches every update, every press release, every new court filing. Social media accounts post real-time coverage of hearings. Commenters trade theories, sometimes crossing the thin line between curiosity and speculation. But behind the noise, the essential truth remains painfully simple. A young woman is still missing. At dusk, when the city quiets, the contrast between facts and uncertainty grows sharper. There's a list of what's known: the job, the car, the last phone ping, the arrest, the charges. And then there's what isn't. Where Kada is, what happened after she clocked out, why her trail ends so abruptly. The people who search for her live between those two realities. For Tony Scott, each day starts with new phone calls to detectives and ends with the same prayer: that someone somewhere saw something. For the volunteers who gather on weekends to hand out flyers, the work feels like both duty and hope. For journalists covering the case, every update brings the same careful balance between fact and empathy, between reporting what's confirmed and respecting what's still unknown. In one televised interview, Tony Scott said something that lingers long after the broadcast fades. If this were your daughter, you'd want the world to stop until she came home. It isn't hyperbole. It's a truth spoken by a mother waiting in the longest silence of her life. As of October 17th, 2025, there have been no confirmed sightings of Kada Scott since the night she disappeared. No body has been recovered. No additional arrests have been announced. Philadelphia police continue to describe the investigation as active and ongoing, and encourage anyone with information to call 215-686, tips 8477. The community continues to hold vigils, raise awareness, and push her story forward. Because when a person vanishes, the absence doesn't stay still. It grows, touching every person who loved them and every stranger who comes to know their name. And so, as the city of Philadelphia hums with its ordinary noise, buses, laughter, sirens, the sound of life, there's a quieter rhythm beneath it, a rhythm of waiting, of hoping, of not letting go. For now, the case of Kada Scott remains one of Philadelphia's most haunting mysteries. But in the voices of those who refuse to forget her, there's still something louder than the silence. There's determination, there's love, and there's the unspoken promise that as long as she is missing, no one will stop searching.